I know it's dangerous to ask you to interpret Aaron Rodgers' comments, but we haven't spoken since he was strolling off of a tee box in Lake Tahoe and talking about Davante Adams to, I believe, a Jets blog site. Pardon me if I'm wrong on that. But, quote, I love Davante. Can't wait to play with him. Pause again. Adams's representation said he's a Raider, doesn't want to get traded. What was that all about? Because it makes it seem like there's got to be some smoke for Rodgers to say something like that, you know?
Well, a couple of things. I watched the full receiver series over the weekend, and there are more than a few scenes where it's clear that Davante Adams isn't thrilled being with the Raiders. Now, that changed when Antonio Pierce became the interim coach, but still, all in all, he'd probably welcome a reunion with Aaron Rodgers. He said recently to Shannon Sharp, he wants Tom Brady to come out of retirement and be the quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders. So even if there's nothing going on, it could be that folks are anticipating the possibility of a phone call or two, and there it goes. Now, here's the other wrinkle, Rich. I think the Jets decided after last year that they are out of the Aaron Rodgers friends and former teammates business. They might make an exception for a player like Davante Adams.
Yeah, I think so, right?
But generally speaking, they saw last year, Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. He's not a very good general manager. So they are generally not moving in that direction. You saw David Bakhtiari was available. He's not going to be a Jet unless somebody decides to completely change their position. But yeah, it's easier to justify it with Davante Adams if there's a trade to be had.
Well, again, you know, I don't see why the Raiders would do that at the outset of a season. But, and you know, looking at the receiver stuff as you were referring to the Netflix documentary, his frustration with Jimmy Garoppolo was when also Josh McDaniels was the coach. Neither of those guys are there, but it is Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell as well. It's not Aaron Rodgers. And so that's where I go back and forth as to what Adams might be really wanting behind the scenes. This seems like something to keep an eye on if Jets start well, Raiders don't. Trade deadline, even though they did push that later into the season. I just don't see why something like that would happen now. It just makes no sense. Everybody's ready to roll. Everyone's hitting training camp. Everybody thinks they can go 17-0. I don't see it. I don't see it.
You make a great point. I mean, we'll learn a lot over the first 9 weeks of the season. They moved the trade deadline back to the Tuesday after week 9. And maybe the Raiders are in a position where they fold tents on this season. They get value for Davante Adams and trade him to the Jets if the Jets are even good enough. They've got that, not necessarily murderer's row by way of opponents, but my God, you got a quarterback that's taken 4 snaps since January of 2023, and he's going to play 3 games in 10 days to start the season. And they do the 3 games in 10 days thing later in the first half of the season. So, you know, if the Jets can survive and are in position to contend at or about the trade deadline, would it be crazy for a Davante Adams trade to happen? If the Raiders aren't contending, that wouldn't be crazy at all. We've seen things like that happen time and time again over the years.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.